If you love scoring amazing hotel deals, you've got to use Hotel Tonight. I've used them. I love them. Forget scrolling through never-ending list of hotels. Hotel Tonight shows you a select list of incredible deals at cool hotels you actually want to stay at. And even though the name's Hotel Tonight, you could book in advance, not just at the last minute. It's perfect for spontaneous weekend getaways, 3-day weekends, staycations, road trips, business trips, booking a place with a pool, and more. Hotel Tonight is fantastic. It's easy to use. I love it. My friends love it. Hotel Tonight partners with great hotels to get you incredible deals for tonight, tomorrow, and beyond. In fact, a friend of mine recently up in New York City, I told him about the app. He needed a hotel room that night. He used it that day and got himself at one of the nicest hotels in New York City, got himself 40% off what he would normally pay for that hotel. It is simple, guys. To start scoring amazing deals at incredible hotels, go to HotelTonight.com or download the app right now.
Great news. There's a quick way you can save money. Switch to Geico. Geico could help you get great coverage at a great price. And it only takes 15 minutes to see if you could save 15% or more on car insurance. Go to Geico.com today and see how much you could save.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz podcast.
We'll get to Burt Reynolds in a second because this show had a special relationship with Burt Reynolds, and this show is a little bit sad because we really enjoyed when he came on with us, and we really enjoyed the fights afterward when young people would get mad because his speech had gone a little bit and because his, he just wasn't as strong as he used to be, and we don't allow people to age with dignity, and so I remember the fights. So many fights. Yes. Anytime you come on with us, why are you having this guy on? And it's because he was the biggest movie star in the world over a period of time. And he's an American icon, or was an American icon. And so we will talk about him in a second. But I'm curious about this. And we're also going to talk. Stugotz and Mike Ryan look so bad today, physically bad. They look like an airplane bent over and just pooped them out. And they,
thanks.
Yeah, I mean, they look haggard. So we'll get to the stories, that they have from Stugotz making a presentation in New York, before or after, Dr. Phil and before or after Ivan Maisel. Did you have a hard time following Ivan Maisel?
Hard time following.
Not
Ivan
following him as in understanding him. Following him as in you gave your presentation after Ivan Maisel.
Well, also, don't get it twisted. He was literally following Ivan Maisel around.
Yes, I was. Had many football questions for him. And then I was just trying to, give everyone a pep talk, okay? Trying to give them a pep talk, because everyone was nervous. They're practicing their presentations. They're pacing around. Mike and I are just sitting there talking to Dr. Phil. I'm putting in bets on the Falcons.
No, that's what I love. That's what I love. What I loved is Mike Ryan sent out a tweet of you just sitting there in repose, which is, other people would just call disgusting.
Totally in the director's way, by the way. Stugotz didn't even notice. It was a director trying to produce a show there.
One of the stories I heard, is this true? Is this true? Please tell me if this is true. Mike, is it true or is it somebody's embellishment? That Stugotz got in front of this room full of serious people, made his 5-minute speech, and while not physically and actually dropping the mic, but sort of metaphorically doing so, walked off the stage like Joe Namath running off the Orange Bowl field with a finger extended and just said, "Millions, give me millions."
Yeah. And he said that into the mic, and then when the mic was cut off, as he was going back in the curtain, he can be heard screaming, "Millions! Millions!"
Yeah, so I said, listen, this slide, we were at the final slide. Mike and I aren't explaining slides, so we said this slide represents lunch.
Hold on. Just slow down for a second.
I was getting to the millions.
Okay, hold on. I know you're going to get to the millions, but I want to drink all of this in. Because Mike said before making this presentation, a lot of people were hustling around. A lot of people were preparing, nervous. Dr. Phil was nervous. Everybody was nervous. It was a very important thing where everybody was nervous.
I think Dr. Phil was just confused.
Okay, maybe confused, also nervous.
You should have seen the look on his face when I tried to explain the suies to him.
What are we doing?
So, Stugotz, the picture Mike sent out is there's a lot of bustle going on, and here's Stugotz sitting in a director's chair in everyone's way, and Mike Ryan says, and all this guy's doing in terms of prep is he just pulled his underwear out with a wedgie. He had a wedgie, and he just announced that he put a lot on the Falcons, which, not surprisingly, didn't cover, and that's all money he lost.
He said, Mikey, I like the Falcons. And then he did this.
Oh, he did that?
Yeah. He's like, Mikey, I took the Falcons for a lot.
That's Matt Ryan.
That's exactly how it went. Mikey, I took the Falcons for a lot.
Yes, and then he goes out there and makes
he said a lot again.
Yes. All right, I want to get to all of the stories from New York in a second, unless you wanted to continue. I know I stopped you. Did you want to continue with your story as to how it is that you arrived at shouting millions from backstage?
No, we can get back to it later. It's
what
funny.
What was this thing? Explain to people what the hell.
I don't know what it was. I mean, I thought it was an upfront. You told me it wasn't an upfront when I was on the air with you yesterday. I mean, I thought it was going there for upfront. Upfronts are big deals, and the fact that they entrusted me and Mike to be part of the digital and podcast
should have told you that it wasn't as big a deal as you thought it was.
Yeah, I should. Exactly. And then they had this whole montage of like ESPN audio and podcast, and who led it? Greeny. If I'm going to be a presenter up there, I'd like to be the lead guy. I mean, the montage should start with me and you. It shouldn't start with Greeny, who's not even on ESPN radio anymore.
To make things worse, the only thing about Stugotz that was in the montage was just the Dan Le Batard show with Stugotz, because it was your voice.
No. It was your voice. Your voice.
No.
Your voice. Yep. Listen, I noticed these things. Like, I noticed front and center on the proposal. Mike, you noticed this, right? Listen, we love her, and she's great, but Katie Nolan, front and center, I am buried in the back left-hand corner. Like, I'm not even there.
I mean, it could be worse. They didn't even have my name at check-in.
Oh, yeah, that was terrible.
What were these things? You're still
These
haven't
were the
explained.
IAB. No, well, they were the IAB podcasts up front. It's where people from the content business meet and present
Gather and mingle
their content to a bunch of advertisers who pay for, in this case, sponsorships on our podcasts. And we have a very popular podcast that you can find almost anywhere.
Do you have what you believe to be 3 great stories from this trip that I can sprinkle in bronze, silver, and gold medalist over the course of the show to build up to a climax at the end?
Oh, yeah. No, I know the climax. We're going TED Talks climax.
Yeah. Oh, TED Talks. I forgot about him. I forgot about TED Talks.
Don't give away the
Hold
punch.
on a second.
I'm not giving away TED Talks. I will just simply tell you that Mike, sadly, sitting in a corner eating a bag of coconut chips because no one was there and his name wasn't at the front desk. That's not even on the medal stand, okay? Not even on the medal stand, okay? It's not even close to the medal stand.
Okay, well, that's not telling me much of anything at all other than that's not a great story. I want to know how many stories can be told about this that you guys believe to be uproariously funny so that we can build up to this over the course of the show. In the interim, I want to talk to you about what I believe to be an American sports viewing experience that right now is going through me, and I believe the audience. You guys tell me if I'm wrong. I, like you, was very excited about the football season arriving. But my evolution as a sports fan, combined with today's technology and attention deficit disorder and the need for stimuli, has made it so when football arrives, I'm excited that football has arrived. And then I see the game and it's, 18-12 and it's a bunch of field goals and it's, Nick Foles winning the game, throwing 34 passes for 150 yards.
117. You're giving him too many.
Okay, 134 passes for 117 yards. And what I realize, and you tell me if this isn't what's happening with you, because I know you guys don't want to hear another season of me complaining about how football is a bunch of 3-yard passes. But I believe that this is happening to the audience. You tell me if I'm wrong. I can't do football anymore in moderation. I gotta have it all in my veins at once. The one thing is not strong enough. It's too diluted. It's too many field goals. I need more action. Can you do football in moderation? Because I believe that this is happening with the entire audience, that it's going to end up hurting their, you always have the fantasy people and the gambling people who are interested in their Thursday and Monday night products. But I believe that what's happening with me is happening with a lot of people.
If the game was great, would you be saying the same thing? Like a great game. But can a single game, an isolated game?
Yes, if it's got stakes, but it can't be game one.
Right.
It can't be game one when I'm all excited for football and then you're just giving me Nick Foles for 117 yards and he gets to win, as I still don't know how good Matt Ryan is. Like I'm 10 seasons into this. I still don't know. I don't know whether he's good. I know Julio Jones is good. I know that.
I know Matt Ryan was good with Kyle Shanahan. I know he was really good with Kyle Shanahan.
Is he Ryan? Put it on the poll, please, Allison. Is Matt Ryan Tannehill with Julio Jones? Because that was ridiculous last night.
He was really inaccurate.
The whole game was just throw the ball wherever the general vicinity of Julio is.
And Julio, so slow getting up. Yet he looks good when he's running, but so slow when he's getting up. It made me sad for football because Matt Ryan, he could maybe scramble out occasionally. He looks somehow slower.
You're so right. They targeted Julio 19 times.
It was absurd. It's like, you know how you buy a new car all of a sudden and you make sure that day to put a bunch of miles on it as fast as you can go? They just got for Julio the money and they're like, all right. Earn it. You're going to earn it. And you're going to keep getting up slow. And we're going to squeeze every athleticism out of this. And 2 years from now, you're going to look like Anquan Bolden. Like physically, everything is going to look like Anquan Bolden because we're going to get our money's worth on this. With Matt Ryan throwing it at your helmet all game is the game plan.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive's Home Insurance. Get your quote at Progressive.com today. Tune in for college football action tomorrow as South Carolina hosts Georgia. I like South Carolina there. Upset alert.
Weren't you 1-4 the first week that you made your picks?
Yeah. It's presented by Dr. Pepper. Coverage begins at 2:30 Eastern on ESPN Radio, ESPNRadio.com, and the ESPN app. Here's your SportsCenter update. The defending champion Eagles defeated the Falcons. What happened here, Roy? I'm going to blame you.
$2.
Dan, come on.
No, that's on me. I was going to say raise the championship banner. That's on me.
No, I know it's on you. It doesn't matter. When he makes the mistake, the fine is if he blames somebody when he makes the mistake.
Fine. Let's see if I have some money today. I spent a lot in New York yesterday just trying to get back to Florida for the show today. No money.
I'll pay you a fine.
I lost it all in the Falcons. Matt Ryan. Anyway, they raised the championship banner. Support for the Dan Le Batard Show podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Let's talk about buying a home for a minute. Because of rising interest rates, there's a lot of unpredictability when it comes to buying a home these days. It's causing a lot of anxiety and stress for a lot of people. Well, our friends at Quicken Loans are doing something about that. They're calling it the power buying process. Here's how it works. Quicken Loans will verify your income, your assets, and credit in less than 24 hours to give you a verified approval. That gives you the strength of a cash buyer. Then once you're verified, you qualify for their all-new exclusive Rate Shield approval. This is very cool here. First, they'll lock your rate up for 90 days while you shop. Now, here's the best part. If rates go up, your rates stay the same. But if rates go down, your rate also drops. Either way, you win. It's the kind of thinking you'd expect from America's largest mortgage lender. To get started, simple. Go to rocketmortgage.com/Stugotz. Rate Shield approval, only valid on certain 30-year purchase transactions. Additional conditions or exclusions may apply based on Quicken Loans data in comparison to public data records. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
Dan Le Batard.
Dwayne Wade's a 36-year-old man and would whoop up on any of us with relative ease.
I got a feeling that one of us could take Dwayne Wade.
There's no combination of two of us that could take Dwayne Wade.
I cannot take Dwayne Wade. Maybe.
Mike and Roy are the nominees.
I cannot take Dwayne Wade. Are you insane?
Roy, do you feel like you could take Dwayne Wade to the woodshed?
Not to the woodshed. No, absolutely not.
Stugotz.
We are fighting Dwayne Wade.
No rules.
We are fighting Dwayne Wade.
I could beat him at Yahtzee, for sure.
At Yahtzee?
Oh, yeah, I'm good at Yahtzee.
I'll beat him at putt-putt.
I'll beat him at Uno.
I'll beat him at basketball.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Sports Illustrated has a fascinating story corroborating some of the things that you've heard in the past about how that locker room felt about Russell Wilson. ESPN working on a similar story. It was, for a while, the most interesting locker room in sports, and it combusted. And now they've sent everyone away, and Earl Thomas is limping back there with his pride and not enough money to hold on to whatever remnants of one of the most savage things we've ever seen in our most violent sport, which was that defense and that team. And it evidently broke up over some real politics, some racial politics, some presidential politics, some Russell Wilson, like the idea that this is no longer just smoke. there are too many people reporting the details on this. There was a real problem in that locker room between Russell Wilson and him being corporate guy or management and the guys on the defense who were a different bunch, vastly less corporate, vastly more rabid. And so that's where you are with that. And if you want to read some of the details, the MMQB has tackled a lot of them in a way that'll blow your eyebrows off.
Yeah, I mean, the title sort of gives it away, and it grabs you right away. The dynasty that never was. And I think that's pretty on the money when it comes to the Seahawks.
Here you go. The dynasty that never was, inside the unraveling of the Seattle Seahawks. As they grew into Super Bowl contenders, the Seahawks, especially the Legion of Boom defense, prided themselves on a ruthless internal competitiveness that lifted everyone and was the foundation of an NFL championship. But some former and current Seattle players say a growing rift developed based largely on the special treatment some felt was afforded quarterback Russell Wilson. Now the team they believe was set up for a long run of success has been torn up and rebuilt around Wilson. Did it have to go down like this?
I mean, the quarterback always gets some special treatment, does he not?
Oh, but that's one of the reasons this was the most fascinating locker room in the NFL, because the quarterback was a dynamic playmaker that seemed to be an electrical cord, but also that team was winning because of the defense. And so he was winning some of those games with the scrambles and was excited, but those guys, Richard Sherman and Michael Bennett, those guys were taking the heat on criticism of that team. Russell Wilson was not.
But Russell made enough plays, and he was very young. I'm with you. The defense won them those championships, and the running game with Marshawn Lynch won them that championship, right? But Russell made enough plays. He was also very young when that defense was at its peak.
Right. Well, but he was also very valuable. Like value, I'm using the term value. He was cheap.
Yes.
So they could pay everybody on defense to go play that rabid style of football that was going to wreck all their body.
And in Russell's defense, he certainly earned that contract. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Chris Sims had him in his top 3, I believe, and that's not a laughing matter. He's actually proven it, but they're a worse team, right?
They are a worse team, but to me, one of the many reasons that this is all interesting is the idea of the value of the quarterback position has been inflated to such a place now that we all know the correct business decision there is let all those bodies on defense break down. Russell Wilson will be playing for them for 10 years if he stays healthy. We all know that decision, but so do those guys on defense. And as you saw in the Steelers locker room just a couple days ago, everybody's counting everybody else's money. And everyone is counting how it is that things go with management. And we've been hearing this one about Russell Wilson, man. How long have we been hearing some form of the Seattle defense has a problem with what a corporate lackey Russell Wilson is?
But that Seattle defense, I mean, Dan, they don't just win with any quarterback. I don't believe they win with any quarterback. I mean, Russell did help them win a Super Bowl. I understand.
I know we could parse the credits, Stugotz, but management chose.
Management is always going to choose the quarterback. They just are.
I know, but
those guys. But Dan, think about what's happened to those guys since they won the Super Bowl. I mean, they're all injured, and I realize management ran them into the ground, and I realize that's part of the problem.
They're all on other teams. I mean, because of the volatility of that locker room and what playing that way did physically to that defense. Because you can't play the way Earl Thomas plays for 15 years without something horrific happening to your body at the end of that?
Yeah, he contemplated retirement after an injury. Cam Chancellor's battled through his injuries. Richard Sherman tore his Achilles.
Of course they're going to get injured. The rules all protect the quarterbacks. Anytime they hit someone like Russell Wilson hard, they get fined for it, and the league changes the rules. I'd be bad, too, if I was Richard Sherman in the 49ers and Michael Bennett, whatever he is. Celebrity Prognosticator kicks off the NFL season next.
Dan Le Batard.
Never going to stop. I am what I am, man. I'm 44 years old. I ain't changing.
Stugotz.
Why change now? It's worked. Here I am. Sitting next to you. Filthy rich.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
All right, so here's the deal. I've been not loving this celebrity prognosticator thing that we do for many years now. I don't love it. We have gone out of our way to continue to do it, sometimes in a way that is, just cheap. It's not very well produced.
And sometimes it's Burt Reynolds.
And sometimes it's Burt Reynolds.
Yeah.
So now what they're doing, though, they're adding a wrinkle here. They have not told me who our celebrity prognosticator is. So I'm going to have to just know as a surprise based on he or she's their voice or how. Well, we'll figure it out together. Just play the open here.
And now it is time for Celebrity Prognosticator. Let's win some money.
All right, so the Celebrity Prognosticator is there. No one has told me. Have they told you? Do you know who the Celebrity Prognosticator is?
I have no idea. You and I are going to find out together.
All right, Celebrity Prognosticator, here to pick games. The reason we do this is listen to last year's records, okay? Last year, Colin Cowherd went 38-30-2. He talks to a bunch of insiders and mafia people. Maybe it's not organized crime he's talking to, but he talks to a lot of people who know stuff.
And talks to R.J. Bell.
Last year, with a random group of celebrities, we went 40-33-3. So we won more, but we also chose more games. We lost more. We were chasing. Regardless, we finished like a couple of picks behind him. We beat him one year. We didn't beat him another year. And now our Celebrity Prognosticator starts here, and hopefully he'll make or she'll make a long run with us. Who are you, or what? How do you want to introduce yourself, celebrity? Did he just
and
roar?
Not only
Was
is
that
it
a
I,
roar?
and not only is it a roar, Mr. Lebatard.
Oh no!
But on the line with us on our show.
Oh no way!
Big Al, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh my God, this is amazing!
Oh no, the Baldwins are both here to now feud with our show. You've got Alec Baldwin, you got Daniel Baldwin. The feud is escalated, and I don't know. I guess take your first cracks. Who wants to go first? Alec, Daniel. The feud is now escalated.
I'll go first. You know, there's nothing I like. I like to pay my bills. I sit at the kitchen table, and I like to pay my bills, and I do the numbers. I get my calculator. I'm kind of zenning out to do my numbers. And there's nothing I like more than some good D-list or F-list or G-list radio personalities in the background while I'm doing that. I mean, guys in the business are way at the back of the bus of the business. So I put you guys on every morning when I'm doing my numbers in my kitchen. I mean,
who's talking to us right now? Which one of you is talking to us? Who's doing the numbers? The fat one?
And Alec, that's not a nice thing to say about Daniel.
Does it really matter? Yeah.
Alec, you don't understand. You do not understand how big an admirer of your work I actually am. I've wanted to talk to you forever. I bought your autobiography. I have I
wish I could say the feeling was mutual, but go on, continue. Go ahead.
And I love Daniel's work.
Wait a minute. Did you just do to me what Whitney Houston did to you at Saturday Night Live, where you told her how great she was, and she said, "I know, baby."
Yeah, I learned everything from Whitney. All my moves are Whitney's moves. Yeah.
They are.
Except the last one. But anyway, all my moves are
Except the last one. Yeah.
Daniel,
I went to the Bobby Brown School of Compliments myself, but go ahead.
All right, Daniel, but what do you got to say? What happened? Stugotz took you out, man. He took you guys out on Golic and Wingo.
Well, you know, here's what happens when and this inevitably is what's going to happen to you. You know, you call for a truce, and then he goes out on Golic and Wingo. You're going to end up in the turning door, the revolving door, with Michael Corleone going to become the Godfather, where all five of the family heads get taken out.
Yeah.
And that's okay because we have some really fun stuff planned for you in your show, and you'll
you're escalating it. You're escalating it as I'm talking about admiration for your brother.
Listen,
you're escalating it.
In the background, we have your crappy little sign. You had some minion that follows Stugotz, one of the 9 people that follow him, and so he left that on the door. Wait till you see what's coming to you. Wait till you see.
Oh no!
I got news for you. Wait till you see what's coming your way, because I am going to unleash this Stugotz army, and you might think it's 9 people, but I'm telling you, it's closer to 100.
It's much stronger than that.
And they are going to come after you relentlessly, Baldwin. You got it?
I got you, buddy. I'm quaking in my boots and I'm waiting. You want to play a little prediction time? What do you got?
Well, which one are you? I'd like to do it with Alec.
Nostradaniel speaks for the family. Go ahead, Daniel.
Where's William, by the way?
All right. Now, where is William?
Where's William? He's falling asleep. According to you, he's falling asleep.
Sedated. Come on. He's a little sedated. Come on. His face looks a little sedated.
He's a handsome devil, man.
He is handsome.
He is the most handsome of the Baldwin brothers.
Who is the most handsome Baldwin?
I would have to say that if
my son Raphael Baldwin.
Yes, Raphael. Raphael's very handsome.
All right,
he looks like his mother. Thank God.
All right, so Nostra Daniel is going to pick games for us here. Are you someone who knows? Do you gamble at all? Do you like to gamble? Either one of you?
I was a professional sports prognosticator and actually had a former NFL coach, a coach of the New York Jets, who worked under me while I picked games professionally in Las Vegas and around the world. So I am quite savvy to this. I have done it before. I will not only as Nostradaniel do I pick games, but I put them in the form for Rich Eisen of quatrains for major games. For instance, last year for the Super Bowl, I wrote, "In the land led by Donald Trump, the fourth quarter shall be their hump. Like Houdini, we focus on illegals. Victory goes to the Philadelphia Eagles."
Wow, okay. You are good, man.
And that was my quatrain for the Super Bowl. But I do have a quatrain for you today, provided you, and I've written several quatrains, so we'll see what games you decide to pick.
Very exciting. Okay,
Tell me where you'd like to go.
So Steelers at Browns. The Browns are a 4.5-point dog at home. Who do you have?
I'm taking the Pittsburgh Steelers minus 4.5.
What's the quatrain? Where's the quatrain?
There's no quatrain. Quatrain. I will save the quatrain to the last pick, otherwise we'll be here all day.
Okay, very good. I
wouldn't mind being here all day, to be honest with you.
You're going to speak in rhymes.
Whole deck of quatrains. But you wouldn't waste his time with your show. Anyway, go ahead.
I can't believe what a ringer he is. Bills at Ravens. The Ravens are a 7-point favorite at home. Who do you got?
We're going to take the Ravens with the no quarterback Buffalo Bills right now. But Peterman doesn't have a chance, so you can bet the ranch on the Ravens.
There's a ranch being bet. All right, Bucks at that would be Alex Ranch, though, right?
Alec has many ranches.
Yeah, right.
He has many ranches.
Does he have more ranches than all the other Baldwins combined?
Oh, my God. Are you kidding me? I couldn't pay his tax bill what I make in a year. Seriously?
Hold on, fellas. I'm going to mute the phone because I'm about to get on my helicopter.
That's all right. Well, I hope it doesn't get too loud. Bucks at Saints. Saints are a 9.5-point favorite. Who you got?
Lay the wood again. Take the Saints minus 9.5 against Tampa Bay. They can't play defense.
I love laying wood, man.
Put on the poll. Allison is the guy who says laying the wood a jerk.
Yeah, I went after Baldwin here, and we are kindred spirits.
I just realized
we're the same
you're
person.
Soulmates.
Yes. I mean, from Long Island. He's from Long Island. We like to lay wood. I mean,
the Bears at Packers. Packers a 7.5-point favorite.
Packers lay the wood again, my friend. There's a lot of wood going on here. This is Wilbur wood, Tiger wood, you name all the wood. Here we go.
Just a couple of menches cutting it up. Daniel, I'm sorry, man. I have to apologize.
No, don't give up just yet. We want to continue this feud through the next couple of months. Jets at Lions.
What's going on?
Lions minus 6.5. Who you got?
You ready?
Yes, this is the big. All right, everyone, hold on a second. This is a big one here. So this is Daniel Baldwin. Or maybe it's Alec. Maybe it's Steve.
Maybe it's William.
I don't know which one it is. I don't know where. Is Alex still there, or did he go somewhere on the helicopter? Anyway, you're already on the helicopter?
Someone's at the door.
All right.
And now, my friends.
I'm about to go hella skiing here in South America. Just continue. Go ahead.
Already getting away of your big life.
Quatrains from the Great One.
Oh, my God.
He's got his own image.
Time for Nostradaniel.
He's got his own image.
Oh, my God. I love you, man.
If you're placing bets, it's as good as it gets. Decrease all your debts. Don't take the Jets.
Yes! That was beautiful!
The great Nostradaniel has spoken.
All right. Thank you, guys. We appreciate your time, and we look forward to the feud escalating. Thank you for making it.
Yes, sir. God bless you guys.
The man wants more money.
Oh, I want them to win all year.
I mean, that is a turn of events right there. That was a turn of events. All of a sudden, now we're rooting for Daniel Baldwin in his feud against us.
Surprise!
That's a good one.
It was funny. That was hard to execute. You got Alec coming in from wherever it is, wherever he was being fed grapes.
If you love football, yelling at television screens with friends, and wearing clothing with someone else's name on it, there's a seat waiting for you at Buffalo Wild Wings, where you can enjoy football food and football beverages on our new $5 game day menu. Cheeseburger and fries, brats, cocktails, and pitchers of beer are just $5 each. Escape to football and the new $5 game day menu at Buffalo Wild Wings. Price and participation vary by location, not valid with any other offer. Please drink responsibly.
Dan Le Batard.
Texter writes in, oh, wow, Dan, you don't argue and you don't yell. You're so perfect, except you have the face of a 600-pound man.
Stugotz.
I couldn't talk.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
So they didn't tell us a lot of things about what we just did, and one of the things they didn't tell us is that was live during Daniel Baldwin's radio show. Like, I did not know we were talking. I thought we were just talking to them on their phones or in studios in their home, not that he was doing his show, because it didn't sound like he was doing his show. It sounded like he was a guest on our show.
Yeah, I just found that out, like just now.
Yeah, okay, so I didn't know that that's what they did, and I did really enjoy the idea that Alec Baldwin is just, and he does know comedy better than us, because that his timing was better than everybody else's around here.
It became aware to you guys that he was doing his radio show when I guess the imaging fell out of the sky, right?
Yeah. No, I thought he traveled around with his own imaging.
I thought maybe he was doing that with his phone or something, right? I didn't even know. I didn't even understand, like, how. That's how Stugotz would do it. Stugotz would somebody's got to build an app for Stugotz where he could just play it whenever he walks into a room. His equivalent of bugles. Stugotz is here.
A lot of moving parts there to make it work. When did you realize it was Daniel Baldwin? At what point? Was it immediately?
I feel like I was the last one to realize it, because I was staring at all you guys, and I'm like, what is that sound? Stugotz is laughed in a way that made me think that he knew who it was before, that someone told him.
I had no idea. I just knew. Yeah, I knew from the roar. I know that roar anywhere. Are you kidding me?
I think you were laughing to buy time, and it was only until like a couple words later you knew it was a Baldwin. You couldn't tell which.
Right, and and hence the dilemma that always exists with the Baldwin, because they all sound the same, and I confuse them. But so we will see. I'd like to talk to Alex some more, because I wasn't being insincere when
Alex not the prognosticator. No. Mr. Daniel is, and
right.
This is the problem. Yeah. Maybe he can guarantee Alec being there, but at some point we're going to have an awkward discussion.
You need to, and I'll do it for you if you want, but as a show, we need to kind of befriend Daniel Baldwin here, because he is a gateway, a path, a bridge to the bigger Baldwin.
In order to befriending Alec Baldwin, it's Stugotz scheming 101.
Daniel's there. He's the one that organizes this whole thing, and Dan's just, Alec, I really admire your career.
Listen, I'll tell you what. We all know Dan wants a relationship with Alec, okay? He has no interest in Daniel. And I want a relationship with Daniel and have no interest in Alec. Okay? So I will be friends with Daniel. He's my guy, and that will get you to Alec.
I don't mean this. It is an insult to Daniel Baldwin, but I don't mean it as an insult. I don't know any of his work.
Have you seen a CSI?
Celebrity Rehab.
One of them. Celebrity Rehab. The CSI something. It was one of the CSIs. This is Stephen, by the way. I don't know. Maybe we can, if Daniel loses, which I don't think is going to happen, because he had a Jets coach working underneath him. Yeah. We can keep him around as someone who just patches through other Baldwins, right? So he loses. Alec, you're next up. Oh, Alec, you lose. Billy, you're up. And we can stop around Stephen.
How about this text that falls out of the sky? Whatever happened to Jackaroot?
Good question.
Fantastic.
To the people who know,
just with yes or no.
Yes, just whatever happened to Jackaroot, yes or no. It's an excellent question. Literally something I had not considered until you asked it. Because it's one of those people. This happens all the time at ESPN. Someone just vanishes. There is no announcement. They're just not on television anymore. Next thing you know, they're Eric Mangini and they're working at Fox.
Antonio Pierce. How'd he go?
Where's
Antonio Pierce?
In and out missions, man.
Who's the biggest of those, though? Who is the one above all others? Because honest to God, that question falling out of the sky, and thank you for asking it.
Mark May. I didn't notice that happen.
He left?
I'm not even sure.
Wait a minute. Is that true? He left? He's no longer with us?
I was searching his Twitter bio to see, and it wasn't on the Twitter bio.
But he's not a layoff or not an announced anything? He's just disappeared?
You know how these things go. Yes, some of the people that we're mentioning, unfortunately, and if you point it out like that.
Jackaroot's not one of them, is he?
I don't know. What happened to Dr. Jerry Punch? He's probably still punching.
Yeah. Where is Dr. Jerry Punch? What? I can't remember the last time I saw Jackaroot.
What about Randy Moss? No, not that Randy Moss. The
Do
other
you
Randy
remember the
Moss.
last time you saw Jackaroot? Do you remember the last time you saw Jack?
No, who remembers the last time they saw Jackaroots?
This person has asked an excellent question that I had not contemplated before this moment. What happened to Jackaroot? It's an excellent question. Can we get an answer? Are you guys going to just keep staring back at me, shrugging your shoulders?
I know he's still alive.
As if the internet cannot answer this question. Someone out there within the sound of my voice, if you know where Jackaroot is and how he is, can you please have him call the show because we'd like to talk to him.
If you love scoring amazing hotel deals, you've got to use Hotel Tonight. I've used them. I love them. Forget scrolling through never-ending list of hotels. Hotel Tonight shows you a select list of incredible deals at cool hotels you actually want to stay at. And even though the name's Hotel Tonight, you could book in advance, not just at the last minute. It's perfect for spontaneous weekend getaways, 3-day weekends, staycations, road trips, business trips, booking a place with a pool, and more. Hotel Tonight is fantastic. It's easy to use. I love it. My friends love it. Hotel Tonight partners with great hotels to get you incredible deals for tonight, tomorrow, and beyond. In fact, a friend of mine recently up in New York City, I told him about the app. He needed a hotel room that night. He used it that day and got himself at one of the nicest hotels in New York City, got himself 40% off what he would normally pay for that hotel. It is simple, guys. To start scoring amazing deals at incredible hotels, go to HotelTonight.com or download the app right now.
Great news. There's a quick way you can save money. Switch to Geico. Geico could help you get great coverage at a great price. And it only takes 15 minutes to see if you could save 15% or more on car insurance. Go to geico.com today and see how much you could save.
Every week during the baseball season, ESPN's premier baseball insider joins Dan and Stugotz to drop some hardball knowledge and take your calls.
2 + 2, I'm going to undress you. 3 and 3, you're going to undress me. 4 and 4, we're going to freak some more.
Here is Dan Batard, Stugotz, and Tim Kurkjian on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Commercial insurance through Progressive protects your business and your dreams. Choose from over 30 coverage options at progressivecommercial.com. Tim Kurkjian going to join us in just a second here on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. He takes your phone call, 786-456-4837. Here's your SportsCenter update. Serena Williams advanced to the finals of the U.S. Open. She will face Naomi Osaka in the finals. Tiger Woods, I'm not saying that name right. Tiger Woods had the best round of the year, shooting 8 under par in the first round of the BMW Championship. Woods is on the course now for the second round. And finally, Burt Reynolds didn't shoot any of his scenes for Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood before his passing yesterday. Reynolds was supposed to play George Spahn, the ranch owner who rented his land out to Charles Manson and his cult of followers. Reynolds was supposed to start shooting his scenes in October. As of right now, there is no word on what will happen to his role. Not at home? Not a problem. Because now you can get pizza delivery to over 150,000 unexpected outdoor locations like parks, beaches, and more with Domino's Hotspots. Visit Domino's.com for details on Domino's Hotspots. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in to the SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
Baseball questions, life questions, etiquette questions, just general advice on human decency. If you want it, now's the time to get it. Tim Kurkjian provides it every week. 786-456-4837 is the telephone number. We begin in the obvious place. Tim, do you know what happened to Jackaroot?
No, I have no idea. Did something go wrong?
No, I don't think anything went wrong.
We're just looking for him.
Jackaroot we're just looking for him. Yeah. That he was on television one day. You know, this happens at ESPN. Tim, certainly there's been a day where you've looked at TV and been like, hey, I haven't seen Eric Mangini in 4 months. Was anyone going to announce that he left the company?
Yeah, I covered the Orioles for 5 years, and I went to Sports Illustrated, and after 2 years at Sports Illustrated, some guy called a radio station and said, I haven't seen Tim Kurkjian's name covering the Orioles here in a while. Is he on vacation or what? And the host had to say, he went to Sports Illustrated 2 years ago. This is how it works sometimes.
Do you know if Mark May still works for the company?
No, I know this, not because I know Mark May but I know he no longer works for the company.
Okay. Is there anyone I could shock you with? Like, if I told you right now, does Randy Moss work for the company? Do we know?
Which Randy Moss?
I think he does, but I'm not so sure about anything anymore with all the people who've been laid off over the years. I don't want to say the wrong thing, but pretty sure Mark May doesn't work there, and I'm pretty sure that Randy Moss does.
Does Marcellus Wiley still work at ESPN, too?
No, I knew this.
What?
He went to Fox, I think. I think he went there to be with Jason Whitlock. Is that right?
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Did Rick Riley?
I think that's true.
Rick Riley.
I think that's true.
Okay. Did Rick Riley ever work for ESPN? Rick Riley. Did he ever work here?
Of course he did, and he was great for us. And then he left, and I don't know where he is now, but wherever he is, he's really smart, and he's a really great writer.
Okay.
Tim, he wasn't great for us.
All right. Well,
could have been better.
He was to me. So.
Okay. No, look, Rick Riley is one of the great sports writers of all time. He just wasn't when he was at ESPN. Moving on.
All right.
Unnecessary by me. I should have just done this. Does Ed Orgeron look like Fred Flintstone's brother, Ed Flintstone? That is so good. That is so good. Does Tony Dungy look like the villain from a Christmas claymation movie? Does Doug Peterson look like a roadie for Jimmy Buffett who gets paid in limes for his Coronas? That totally looks... That is Doug Peterson right there.
Jack Arute, he just tweeted at you, Dan.
All right, we'll find Jack Arute. We'll find out what he's up to.
His Twitter handle is @JackOnSports.
Okay, so where is he on sports? We don't know. That's why we're calling.
Sirius XM NASCAR, and he says hello.
Okay, very good. Hey, one of the nicest men ever. Right, Tim? Like, Tim, does Jack Arute not rival you for one of the nicest men in media history?
I only met him once, and he was really nice. So that's all I know about Jack Arute, and I hope he's fine, and I'm sure he is.
Tim, I'm really sorry to badger you with Jack Arute questions. I'm sorry that I did that. Mayhem, you're on ESPN Radio. Mayhem.
Hey, Timbo. I just have a couple questions. Would Derek Jeter still be a Hall of Famer if his first name was Ed? And also, does Frank Viola have the sweetest name and nickname in baseball history? Thanks.
Okay, Ed Jeter would be in the Hall of Fame. He's a lifetime 300 hitter with well over 3,000 hits. Is there a question about that? What was the second part?
I believe it was a nickname for Frank Viola, and whether it was the best nickname in the history of the sport. I don't even. What is it? Sweet Viola? Sweet music? Sweet music.
Yeah, the greatest nickname of all time in baseball is Doug Goosh, who spelled his last name Gwodsz. I think I've got that right. And his nickname was Eye Chart, because when you look at his name, you put your hand over one eye, and it looks like you're reading an eye chart. So Doug Rader, the mischievous manager of the Rangers, who made me laugh so many times, it was so brilliant. He told me that's what they used to call Doug Goosh. Eye Chart. That's my favorite nickname ever.
Now, Timmy, what if Ed Jeter played for the Pirates?
All right. If you hit 300 lifetime, 20 years as a shortstop, and get way over 3,000 hits, it doesn't matter who you play for or what your name is. You are a Hall of Famer, period.
What if Ed Jeter played shortstop for the Rays,
Look,
Timmy?
This is as close as Tim Kurkjian has ever been to saying bleep you to a personality on air. Like, that right there is an enraged Tim Kurkjian telling you to shut up with the Ed Jeter questions. Get back to the Jack Arute question.
Right. The only thing that made me worse is when you guys asked me if Hank Aaron was a compiler.
I know. Not you guys, Tim. Don't group me in with this consortium of morons. Don't group me in with them.
Okay. Ask me another question.
I made you uncomfortable with that Rick Riley question, though. I'm going to have to call you and apologize after.
No, you don't have to apologize, Dan. Rick Riley's a friend of mine and spectacularly talented.
You're going to call Tim to apologize? You should call Rick.
I'm not calling Rick to apologize. I would call Tim to apologize because I put him in a terrible spot there. Robert, you're on with Tim Kurkjian. Go ahead.
Hey, Tom. What is the single most important thing the Mets must do to reach 500? And when you eat breakfast, do you eat waffles, French toast, or pancakes? Because they all require syrup. Thanks.
I usually don't eat any of the three, even though I love all three of them. And if given a choice, I would take French toast first but they're all great. The Mets obviously need to keep that potentially great rotation intact and then go buy about 5 different players to fill out their everyday lineup. That would be probably a first baseman, a third baseman, an outfielder at least, a second baseman, and maybe a catcher. That's what the Mets need to get back to being a contending / championship team.
That's
so everything.
That's to get to 500? That's how you're answering the question of how they get back to 500?
He asked 500.
Back to 500. Yes. Sorry. They don't need all those pieces to get back to 500. But with the Mets, 500 isn't enough. You have to go to the World Series and win it, and it's going to take a bunch of help to do that.
Paul, you're on with – actually, before we go to Paul, real quick, David Sampson, the former Marlins team president, was on with us and was saying the Mets should have traded DeGrom. They would have gotten a mountain from the Yankees. They should trade DeGrom because of what happens to power arms in that sport, and that most of them, you want to take their good years and then get rid of them. What could they have gotten for DeGrom from the Yankees, Tim?
Well, they could have gotten a haul for him, but they would not have gotten Gleyber Torres, I don't believe. And they would not have gotten Miguel Andujar, who are going to be their second baseman and third baseman, wildly productive players for a long time. And the Mets likely would have wanted both of those guys in return for DeGrom. And that's why they weren't going to trade him, because they weren't going to get what they needed in return.
Paul, you're on with Kurkjian. Go ahead, Paul.
Hey, Tom. I always see you in a suit and tie. Can you describe for me a time when you're in a beat-up T-shirt and shorts and what you're doing? Thanks.
Well, I work around the house a lot. I stink around the house. I mean, I clean up the yard and I mow the lawn and I do all the stuff on the back porch. And in that, I'm wearing shorts and a T-shirt, and I look pretty ragged, but I don't look so good in a coat and tie either, so it's not that big of a deal.
Not true. Parker, you're on with the very handsome and talented Tim Kurkjian, who I'm going to have to apologize to after this show. Go ahead, Parker.
If you had to choose between one of these, getting a foot massage in front of all your peers and coworkers for half an hour, or having permanent Cheeto fingers for 6 months, which one are you taking?
I've never had a foot massage. As I've told you, I had one massage in my life total, and it was wildly unimpressive, at least it was to me. But I'll take a foot massage rather than have orange fingers for 6 months. I won't be happy about it. And again, my feet don't look any different than any other man's feet. I just don't think men's feet are particularly attractive. So I'll take the foot massage, handle the 30 minutes so I don't have to handle the 6 months with orange fingers.
Does Brian Kelly look like a park ranger who just wants to double check that you properly reserved your campsite? Does Tony Saragusa look like the guy about to take a bite out of his hot dog only to have it stolen by Spider-Man swinging overhead? You can see the shocked look on his face, right? Like his mouth is open and he's shocked and amazed. And how about this one? Does Field Yates look like the lifelike robotic bartender in a sci-fi movie that's always smiling as he's wiping down the bone-dry counter?
Payday! Payday! It is payday!
Got a bunch of apologies to make during the break, don't you?
Guillermo, I'll have some more after this. Put this on the poll, Allison. I'm sorry, Guillermo's not here. Who looks more like the robotic bartender in a sci-fi movie wiping dry the bone-dry countertop? Is it Field Yates or is it Will Cain?
Support for the Dan Le Batard Show podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Let's talk about buying a home for a minute. Because of rising interest rates, there's a lot of unpredictability when it comes to buying a home these days. It's causing a lot of anxiety and stress for a lot of people. Well, our friends at Quicken Loans are doing something about that. They're calling it the power buying process. Here's how it works. Quicken Loans will verify your income, your assets, and credit in less than 24 hours to give you a verified approval. That gives you the strength of a cash buyer. Then once you're verified, you qualify for their all-new exclusive Rate Shield approval. This is very cool here. First, they'll lock your rate up for 90 days while you shop. Now, here's the best part. If rates go up, your rates stay the same. But if rates go down, your rate also drops. Either way, you win. It's the kind of thinking you'd expect from America's largest mortgage lender. To get started, simple. Go to rocketmortgage.com/Stugotz. Rate Shield approval. Only valid on certain 30-year purchase transactions. Additional conditions or exclusions may apply. Based on Quicken Loans data in comparison to public data records. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
Don Le Batard.
It's an opinion question. I gave you my answer.
Okay, but you're wrong.
Oh.
Stugotz.
I don't respect your opinion.
Okay.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Mike, do we have anything to honor Burt Reynolds? Do we have anything to celebrate his life as a friend of the show? Many people yesterday reached out to our show when they learned of his passing because they've heard the great stories that Burt Reynolds has told around here over the years. And Burt Reynolds, I don't know where he ranks in show history, but there is a certain affinity for him that the audience has, that our audience has, that has been cultivated over his, late in life appearances. I can't believe that Tarantino was going to put him in another movie. He reinvented himself with Boogie Nights, right? But he had, across the 80s, he had offered to him every job in the movies that went on to become a blockbuster, and he just couldn't take them all. But they were all, every major job that required a leading man in Hollywood for what, 10 years? He was the place that people went. So do we have something ready to honor him as he passes away yesterday at the age of 82?
We produced something. We have to make an edit to it because the music behind it was so sad that it made me want to cry. And that's not what we're going for when we want to celebrate the life of an amazing actor, a pop culture icon, and an incredible show guest. So we're going to alter the music a little bit, but that montage will be on its way soon.
Okay, very good. So we will be able to talk about Burt Reynolds then. What are you smiling about?
I'm just smiling. Just so many good movies like Sharky's Machine and Cannonball Run. Just so many good movies. And I don't think people realize he was like, I think he was a sex symbol, was he not?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
of course. Yes, he was. He had the celebrity marriage a long time ago with Lonnie Anderson. It was a disaster. The National Enquirer was reporting on it all the time. He got mad and he took from his farm a helicopter that just produced either cow manure or horse manure and just dumped it on the headquarters of the National Enquirer. And that's why I saw someone on Twitter say, you may think you're cool, but you will never be as cool as Burt Reynolds dumping manure on the National Enquirer. Cool.
And easy, Papa. Don't give away the entire montage here. And also the love of his life that they never actually tied the knot with Sally Field. Star-crossed lovers just could never make it work.
Yep. Called her the love of his life, but they could never make it work.
And
he had a woman problem, a women problem.
Yeah. And it was actually pretty cool to see that when the news came down, not only was Burt Reynolds trending, but Turd Ferguson was trending too because of Norm Macdonald's Celebrity Jeopardy SNL sketch, which a lot of people maybe younger that don't know the apex of Sean Connery or Burt Reynolds, they know of those guys through the Celebrity Jeopardy sketch.
Hold on. If you had to select, you can only select one. We've had this conversation a lot around here. We've had so many people from SNL on over the years, and so many of the people who've gone from SNL to the big things that Will Ferrell has gone to. And we're always asking them, give us the 3 or 4 best SNL people of all time. But I don't think we've asked that question. You can only take one SNL skit for all time. One that echoes across the decades. Is it Cowbell? Is it this? Is it the Jeopardy? Is it Eddie Murphy as James Brown or Gumby? Like, what if you can only take one? What's the one that you would take? I actually want to have this conversation. Let's get in here on this because shows don't run that long.
What's in the discussion? Like, let's give the audience some stuff to.
Well, you got to go characters, right? You got to go Dana Carvey characters. Like it's got to be Church
like Wayne's
Lady.
World is in there. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the graduates of that show are amazing.
I mean, some of the best ones are the ones where the characters break. And not Jimmy Fallon break. I mean, like, break. Those are, to me, are always the really funny ones that are just so unfunny that they end up being funny. There's actually one in recent history with
That
Tom
is our
Hanks.
show right there. Our show is so unfunny that sometimes it ends up being funny, but very often it's just not funny.
But in terms of, like, there's the reoccurring ones that are obviously iconic, but standalone ones, Van Down by the River, Matt Foley, the Chris Farley Chippendales routine with Patrick Swayze, that's iconic.
Yeah.
Canteen Boy with Alec Baldwin.
Farley's body.
And Alec Baldwin's sweaty balls. That's another good one. There's so many good ones. Alec Baldwin is essentially a cast member.
Do that again. Just say that phrase one more time so we can end the segment on it.
Alec Baldwin, sweaty balls.
Dan Le Batard.
Texter writes in, does ESPN brass listen to this show? They can't.
Stugotz.
How could this possibly continue in a prime spot for this long? It's just truly awful radio.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Chris, put it on the poll, please. Did you know Mona Lisa's smile was a victim of a thyroid issue? That's not something that I was aware of. We've got some stories from these upfronts that were not upfronts. Mike and Stugotz look haggard today. ESPN, I got to tell you, ESPN didn't respect them on this one. ESPN just beat them up. They've come in here haggard, broken. Stugotz's flight out of New York was rushed. The pilot was telling everybody, hey, we don't have time to clean the plane. If you want to get out of here without delays, everybody sit your asses down and we're going. And then he just flew into the sky, backed up from the gate before everyone was even on the plane. He's just rushing out of there. And ESPN botched the Mike and Stugotz portion of this by not allowing them a day off today so that somehow, this is what happened yesterday at these New York meetings. Poor Stugotz is sitting there in a room waiting for others to arrive, and Katie Nolan, who lives in the city, arrives later than Stugotz, who flew in that morning.
Her show's called Always Late. She lives that brand.
I mean, she came from Hoboken, New Jersey. I commuted from Miami. I got there before she did. By the way, not a terrible commute. I mean, what I did yesterday. I mean,
it was quicker than your
It was quicker than my ride here, yeah.
Yeah, but Katie could do that. Katie, Stugotz, me to a much lesser degree. We operate in this place where we can, we'll go. 5 minutes, fine. We can do that. Everyone else is like really stressed and prepared. And Stugotz is such a breath of, well, not fresh.
Well, while you were describing that, Stugotz actually just bent over and farted. That's his thing that he just leaned in his chair. People just saw it on television. He just let one go right now. As you were describing that,
notice
Stugotz, I hope
you don't miss a thing.
I hope the cameras were on him there. He just lifted his right butt cheek and sent it all my way.
I thought it was silent but deadly. Sorry about that. I mean, the deadly part's about to come your way, though.
So with that as introduction, why don't we talk about the death of Burt Reynolds? Oh. That's right. Just the most awkward possible transition from Stugotz being Stugotz.
Here are some classic moments of Burt Reynolds being a guest on the Dan Le Batard Show with the farting Stugotz.
He is, from my childhood, the coolest person in my childhood. Burt Reynolds with us. Can you explain to us what that period of your life, 1978 to 1982, was like when you were the biggest movie star there was going?
I got laid a lot.
That's it. I mean,
all right. That is the best start to an interview, most concise and succinct in the history of our program. What would you say is the proudest job you've done acting?
I think Deliverance.
That's where your life changed, right?
Well, the scripts were coming from better directors and the more money was coming, and it was just a great time for me. But it was more respect that I was getting that I hadn't gotten before. It was a great time for me.
What's the role you most regret turning down?
Terms of Endearment, which was so stupid of me to turn down. Pretty Woman.
You were going to be Richard Gere in Pretty Woman?
Yeah, well, he was a pretty guy.
What else?
The last one was James Bond.
Oh, boy.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I said to the guy, an American can't play James Bond. It has to be an Englishman. And he looked at me like, what a dumb putz.
as a former athlete, as a running back at FSU who could see the body betraying him, and because this is kind of the idea of coming into wealth and spending it is an athletic cliche, how is it that Burt Reynolds didn't learn some of those lessons just from predecessors?
Duh. I don't know.
That might be the best answer ever given to a question on this show. This is so cool for us. Like,
Yes.
So cool for us. Yes.
That it is.
My best friend was Clint Eastwood, and he only says about 4 or 5 words a year, so it wasn't a big, tough of friendship, to say on to.
He handled fame differently than you did, correct?
Totally, yeah. He handled it well. we got fired on the same day, and they told him that his Adam's apple stuck out too far, and they told him that he talked too slow and all that. And I said, well, what's the matter with me? And they said, you can't act. And then we were walking to his truck, and I said, you're in a hell of a lot of trouble, because I can learn how to act. You'll never get rid of that Adam's apple.
Why did you turn down the role in Boogie Nights so many times?
I hated that whole idea of glamorizing that kind of business, and I didn't want to be a part of it. And then, the guy kept trying to get me to do it, got more and more and more, until finally I went a little crazy and screamed at him. And he said, if you can do that in the movie, you're going to get nominated. I said, I can do that in the movie. And he was right. I got nominated.
Let's talk about when you owned a private jet, a helicopter, numerous custom-made sports cars, including the one from Smokey and the Bandit, plus 150 horses, and you spent more than $100,000 on toupees.
Those seem like better times, Burt.
Yeah, but I'm just as pretty without it. It's just that I got to wait maybe a little bit longer so that I could be the Yul Brynner kind of.
What would you say was your most extravagant purchase? Because your home is filled with paintings of yourself that have been made by others. What would you say is the purchase you made where you were like, well, that was kind of ridiculous?
Yeah, there was a lot of paintings, but they weren't all of me. Just 90%.
I want the details, Burt, please, on how it came to be that you were renting a helicopter and dropping horse manure on the National Enquirer headquarters.
I had about 100 horses at the time, and that's a lot of horses. And I got 2 huge nets, and I filled them both. And at about 3 o'clock in the morning, my ranch foreman and I took my helicopter down to the wonderful National Enquirer, which is just down the street here from me, and I flew over the which I felt was I just didn't think it was right that they had the largest Christmas tree in the United States. It wasn't right. So I dumped it on top of the tree, and it just cascaded down. It was a beautiful sight.
Did it make you feel better?
I felt so much better.
We appreciate you, Burt, in general, but we also appreciate you spending so much time with us today on the show. We really enjoyed it.
I love talking to you guys, and anytime, any place, anywhere. God bless you guys.
Ah, that one hurt. That one hurt.
Yep.
We've had a few of those over the years here with our show, relationships that have been built with funny, famous people. And, that one, I don't know whether we want to start measuring pain or sadness on these things, but I guess when it happens at 82, it's a little bit different than when it happens with Alan Thicke or he lived a big life, man. He lived a big, rich life.
Yes, and a long life. 82, as you just pointed out. Yes, a great life. A fun life, Burt Reynolds, man. And he didn't take himself too seriously.
No, clearly. Although my guess is that some of that was beaten out of him over the years. Like I'm guessing that when you're coming up, you're going to take yourself seriously in the 80s when you're getting offered Pretty Woman and one of the great things that I've noticed that happens with age and perspective is that a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times where you just stop taking yourself seriously, at least in part because everyone's making fun of you. And I mean, who does that? Who sends that much horse bleep over a Christmas tree? How much did he get fined for that? Do we remember that? Like I don't know if that's the one Burt Reynolds story I would choose. There are so many, but golly, man, who does that? There had to be the idea of making a decision. I don't like what this place is reporting about me. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take horse manure and then I'm going to let the authorities figure out what the legality of this is that I have just taken a literal dump on the Christmas tree outside of the National Enquirer.
Not many people. I'm trying to find out how much.
You got to have the horses, the net, and the helicopter, but you also have to have the balls.
Yeah, I'm not. I think you got away scot-free too. I'm not really seeing any
there
sort
has
of
to be.
punitive measure.
Wait a minute. All right, put that on the poll, Chris. Was there a fine involved with Burt Reynolds dumping 2 helicopters full of horse manure on the National Enquirer Christmas tree?
This show ain't free. Time for some ads.
I'm with Mike. I don't see it anywhere. Like, it would pop up quickly. I think he got off.
That's got to be a crime, man. What are you kidding me? You can't just do that.
I mean, he gave the Enquirer a scoop.
That's got to be a crime, does it not?
Only if one side decides to prosecute. I'm sure the National Enquirer was flattered, and they got a headline out of it, I'm sure.
If you love football, yelling at television screens with friends, and wearing clothing with someone else's name on it, there's a seat waiting for you at Buffalo Wild Wings, where you can enjoy football food and football beverages on our new $5 game day menu. Cheeseburger and fries, brats, cocktails, and pitchers of beer are just $5 each. Escape to football and the new $5 game day menu at Buffalo Wild Wings. Price and participation vary by location. Not valid with any other offer. Please drink responsibly.
Don Lebatard.
What I do with Karate Kid is I have it on TiVo constantly. It's just sitting there, and what I do, Dan, I've isolated it to the final scene, to the Valley Championships. I just watch that.
Stugotz.
Sprint through that, gets me goosebumps, I get all psyched up, and then I go face the day. Do you do that?
No.
Sweep the leg, you don't know?
No.
Oh.
This is the Don Lebatard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
So Elon Musk is trending. Stugotz crushes Elon Musk at every turn and was ahead of the curve on that because a whole lot of people have caught up behind Stugotz, the leader, and are questioning everything about Elon Musk and his latest move, as he is working very hard to do these giant projects that seem to test human limits, but doesn't actually yet accomplish many of them. He's dreaming gigantically, and he seems to be in a lot of trouble as the head of this company because he's taking a bit of a beating, but he is his own man, and he is super unusual. And he just went on Joe Rogan's podcast, and the reason he's trending isn't because of anything he said in a 2-hour conversation. It is because he smoked marijuana while saying it. And Joe Rogan, we've talked to Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan does not mind all sorts of psychedelic drugs. He does all sorts of unusual stuff. He says, what's the point of having money unless it's to have a hyperbaric chamber or to have a saltwater tank that I could go and meditate in?
What really bothers me, he was sipping whiskey while smoking that joint as well. And he did say some outlandish things. And the stock plunged 9%. And 2 executives, top executives at Tesla, have just decided to leave the company on the heels of this. And I'm certain other stuff as well.
But this one's interesting because I want to ask you guys about this. What happened, Mike? What happened?
Okay, Stugotz.
Well, how informed I am on this? Or what happened?
But it didn't appear like he got high during it, which happens, I've been told.
Mike, here is the issue. There are people like Dan who believe in Elon Musk and what it is that he set these big dreams that produce nothing. All they are dreams. That's it. It's a bunch of nonsense.
Well,
it's a bunch of words.
There were dreams with a lot of money and research behind them.
We need dreamers.
Hold on, but there are people who believe in Tesla and Elon Musk and that company, and what he's doing with his investors is bleeping with them, and that's not cool, man. But that's always been part of my beef with him.
Okay, but
imagine Jeff Bezos went on a podcast and smoked a blunt.
Okay. I'm not interested, though, in, first of all, he could, because he could do whatever he wants, Jeff Bezos, because he's got the kind of money that he could do whatever he wants. But I'm actually interested in dissecting how this is trending, why this is trending, the idea of links between that and stock price, the idea of links between a CEO. Can he do his job correctly if he's smoking marijuana? But I also want to explore it through the prism of, I haven't seen anything in my sports lifetime change more than the attitudes about marijuana. Nothing. There is nothing. A lot of things have changed a ton, Journalism has changed a ton. A lot of things technology has changed everything. The stigma falling on marijuana from what it was to what it is rivals only like the stigma on being gay in terms of my entire lifetime in sports, something just totally flipping, changing in a way that has been startling. And the question I want to ask you is, as I partake in television shows, another television show outside of this, is that something I could have done on our air? Is that something that could have been done with a sports figure? Can you do a sports figure smoking marijuana on ESPN and Disney Air? Can it be done? Zach Galifianakis has done it on HBO Real Time, HBO with Bill Maher.
I would say no right now, but perhaps maybe a couple of years down the road. Perhaps.
Why?
I think with each passing day, with each passing year, it becomes more and more mainstream, and it becomes legal.
I can't believe what happened here and how it happened in terms of, we were talking 10 years ago, hey, shouldn't the government just tax this and make it legal? It seems like a pretty extraordinary income source. And boom, if that's not what happened. And so why do I have to wait a couple of years? Explain it to me. I'm just interested in the theory of this. Explain to me why I have to wait a couple of years for the idea of having a guest smoke marijuana on air while doing an interview, just for the shock value of it, which is what Galifianakis did.
Right.
And it's really, I don't even know what Elon Musk is doing beyond just making himself comfortable in Joe Rogan's environment.
But those guys are doing individual podcasts. I don't know, is Rogan owned by a larger company? So, my point is, each company can decide whatever it is they want to decide. I just can't imagine this company, the one that we work for, allowing us to do that.
I don't know the answer to the question I'm asking.
And I don't know for sure, but I think they're doing this in California. It also depends where you're doing these.
Really? Well, but that, you've heard me talk
I know that's super arbitrary.
The arbitrary moralities of I could do it in California, but I can't do it in Miami. When Miami, man, I'll put up our drug pass on anybody's in this country. Like if you're, I don't, whether it's legal or not.
Our drug pass it's going to take a little bit longer in terms of removing the stigma.
Did you just resume every other state with Miami?
I'll give you Miami's bona fides, baby. Like I've been in the submarine made of cocaine that valets outside the nightclub. Our country, our city, our banana republic is built on that. Is built on, man, there ain't a dollar you can get in this city that doesn't have blood or cocaine on it. Not one. Go to the supermarket, go pay for something at child care. There's not a dollar in this city that doesn't have either blood or cocaine on it.
And we don't blink. We just stick them in our pockets.
Or our nose. Dianna Russini next.
If you love scoring amazing hotel deals, you've got to use Hotel Tonight. I've used them. I love them. Forget scrolling through never-ending list of hotels. Hotel Tonight shows you a select list of incredible deals at cool hotels you actually want to stay at. And even though the name's Hotel Tonight, you could book in advance, not just at the last minute. It's perfect for spontaneous weekend getaways, 3-day weekends, staycations, road trips, business trips, booking a place with a pool, and more. Hotel Tonight is fantastic. It's easy to use. I love it. My friends love it. Hotel Tonight partners with great hotels to get you incredible deals for tonight, tomorrow, and beyond. In fact, a friend of mine recently up in New York City, I told him about the app. He needed a hotel room that night. He used it that day and got himself at one of the nicest hotels in New York City, got himself 40% off what he would normally pay for that hotel. It is simple, guys. To start scoring amazing deals at incredible hotels, go to HotelTonight.com or download the app right now.
Great news. There's a quick way you can save money. Switch to Geico. Geico could help you get great coverage at a great price. And it only takes 15 minutes to see if you could save 15% or more on car insurance. Go to geico.com today and see how much you could save.
Going to talk some football here. Dianna Russini is a Jets fan and Jets reporter. She is both of these things.
She's got the whole NFL. Dianna Russini is breaking stories for this company.
I know, but she's a Jets reporter and a Jets fan, correct? She's breaking stories on the NFL.
She's a big time.
Listen, here's the thing. I've been trying to hide this Jets fandom, but I can't really get away from it because back in the day, I would wear a Jets shirt before I became a sports reporter, so it's out there on the internet. And Dan, I spent years when I was in local markets when, I was anchoring weekend sportscasts that nobody watched, tweeting at Stugotz because I wanted to be like, oh, this is so cool. This great radio host who's a Jets fan. Maybe I'll get his attention. We'll bond over the Jets. And I think he blocked me. Like, he didn't even respond.
No way.
He He didn't even try. I think I remember I even slid in your DMs to feed you some news I had on the Jets, and you still never responded. So to be honest with you, I'm really honored to finally talk to Dan because it's been a long time, but I'm not really sure if I'm going to be cool with you.
I got to tell you, I have never blocked anyone on Twitter. I am checking my DMs right now. I think listen, I'm not saying you didn't do this, but I think you may have been sending them to the wrong person.
I mean, she sounds like your soulmate. Like she sounds, a Jets fan. Like, do you love the idea that Stugotz has a Jets golf cart that's super ornate that he runs roughshod over a golf course with?
Oh, I think that's brilliant, especially the fact that he lives outside the New York area. I think that's the way you do it. If you're going to be a fan, go all in. The way it works with fandom is you connect whether you like those people or not. If you like the same team, no matter where they're from, what they do, you kind of have that bond and you open your arms to them. And I've worked at ESPN for almost 5 years now. And Dan, Stugotz has never reached out to me. He's never supported me. He's never retweeted me. I just kind of feel like we need to start fresh.
Well, how do you spell Russini? It's got a T, right?
That's the problem. You don't even know my name.
That's brutal, man. It's brutal.
I'm like one of maybe 2 Italians at the company.
I'm sorry. Now that Tirico's gone.
Yeah, exactly. Now that Tirico's gone, maybe I am the only Italian left. I'm actually trying to go through rack my brain right now of who we have. I don't think we have an Italian girl from Jersey that loves the Jets. Stugotz, how?
Isn't Isola Italian?
I don't know if the Iceman. I think it's just you and Dickie V.
Oh, yeah. Now, he's wonderful to me. I do crosstalk with him on the air, and we don't even talk sports. We just talk about all the food we like and our mothers and fathers and all the things that we connect on. But I don't know, maybe one day we'll find something that we can connect on.
What are you hearing? What are you hearing? Your reported sources, what are they telling you about Sam Darnold? Are you maybe you could connect with Stugotz because he doesn't believe in this idea that they should have traded Teddy Bridgewater.
Here's what's so interesting about this, Dan, is after they officially named Sam Darnold, the best kept secret on the planet, the starter just last week. I spoke to other coaches outside the Jets organization, just basically about that decision. Like, what do you make of them doing this just from an outside perspective? And I had one head coach make the best point probably I've heard since. He said, you're not a very good reporter, by the way, if you didn't pick up on the fact that Sam Darnold was going to start from the day that ownership said that he was going to change the direction of this organization. We're going to look back on this in 20 years and say drafting Sam Darnold is when it all changed for the New York Jets. That's the day the New York Jets decided that Sam Darnold was going to be the starter. They didn't need to see him in March. They didn't need to see him in April, May, OTAs, training camp. That was decided when the owner made that call. And fortunately for the Jets, they have a great veteran quarterback in Josh McCown, at 39 years old, who completely embraced the idea of mentoring this young rookie. Todd Bowles was on board for it, and he's now ready to go. And everything I'm hearing, though, guys, is all good. This isn't just fluff of we need to just push and play the rookie because we chose him at quarterback. It's, in the first round. He's real. It's legit. He's got leadership. He still has to learn some things just from talking to the other quarterbacks when I was in the Jets locker room recently. Of course he does. He's a rookie. But in terms of having the things that the Jets are looking for in who could be the future, they believe that Sam Darnold has all of it.
All right, if you want to talk to her, we are auditioning football correspondents around here for calls from people who know more than we do about football stuff, which is just about everybody. 786-456-4837 is the telephone number if you want to talk to Dianna Russini about football or whatever it is you'd like to ask.
Tony Reali, another Italian. By the way, Dianna, I realized what happened here. I was never following you in the first place. So in order to send DMs, you have to be following each other. And that's not great. That's on me because you should be my soulmate. Dan is right. So I've just started to follow you. I am following you now. Okay?
How do you not follow me? And listen, I'm a nobody at ESPN, and I get that, but I covered your team all the time.
Fair point.
It seems like it would just be an automatic follow. So it's all right. We're going to work through this. It's going to take some time, but I forgive pretty easily.
She is covering Vikings and 49ers this weekend for for ESPN, and you can reach her at 786-456-4837.
Dan, you realize why this is confusing. There's Saminis, there's Russinis. I mean, there are all these people that are following the Jets. It's hard for me.
Yeah, there is a Samini, and I understand. Wait a minute. You know what? I understand how that decision would be made between the confusion for Stugotz, who's dyslexic. You can't tell between the Russini and the Samini.
All very confusing. We even look alike too, so I could see how you could get that confused.
You saw that in the news, Stugotz. We got some intel here on Dianna Russini. Evidently, just like Virginia Tech fakes injuries to slow the game down, she fakes injuries on airplanes so guys will help her with her luggage.
Oh my God, that's such a heady play. I mean, that is so awesome.
This is the truth. So a couple weeks ago, I'm down at Saints training camp, and Sports Center's on the road. We got all access. New Orleans is giving us everything. They're doing awesome for us, putting it all in the air. So Drew Brees is just throwing touchdown passes, fooling around with us on camera. So I thought I'd be a show-off, so to speak, and I was like, Drew, throw me a pass. And, we discussed what route I was going to run, and I ran some garbage route, and I wound up kind of slipping, and I dove. I mean, I caught it, but I landed on my hip. This was 7 weeks ago. I was a Division I athlete. Guys, I can't even, lift my leg up at this point, and I'm so embarrassed to admit that just from catching a pass, I'm injured. But since then, I've had to travel so much, so I kind of exaggerate the limp a little bit so I don't have to, put the pressure on my leg to lift the luggage. Because, first of all, don't you think men should be doing that anyway? I have such a problem with that. I can do it, but, sometimes I looking around like anyone, a little chivalry here, but most of the time nobody really does it. But today I had 3 lovely men help me lift it up, but that's probably because I accentuated the injury I had.
Congratulations on that. And just don't feel too bad about being injured on one catch. I'm pretty sure I have this right. I think the late Stuart Scott, in a tryout with the Jets, injured his eye on the first ball thrown to him. No, I think I have that right. Like the jugs machine, he was actually trying out for cornerback or thought he could make the team as a cornerback, and didn't he get hit in the face with the football? Thank you, Mike. Okay,
yes, right. Why go there?
Okay, because I'm saying in terms of...
Yes, it happened.
I'm saying the fact that she hurt her hip...
You are so awkward.
Why am I so awkward? The story...
It's a weird place to go,
Now, is it a weird place to go?
We're just sitting here. A couple of menches were cutting it up, talking some Jets football, and you go to a weird place.
All right, very good. We'll take your calls.
I get why you went there. He was trying to... You know what he was doing?
Rossini, don't side with him.
He was just trying to put out a little olive branch. Don't worry, girl, I got your back. We're on the same team. A little injury here. The great Stuart Scott was injured as well. I get it because we're teammates.
All right. See, at any moment there, were you thinking what me and Mike were thinking? Did you get nervous? Was it awkward? Were you thinking why the hell is Dan taking the conversation? Just be honest. I think
a lot of people in the audience don't know that and would find it interesting. We take your calls with Dianna Russini next.
Payday, it is payday.
She's fantastic, man.
Again,
I got a little carried away with Sam Darnold, but she is fantastic.
786-456-4837 is the telephone number. Stugotz is here to tell you about Walmart. Get in here. We want football experts around here because Stugotz and I don't know what we're talking about.
Support for the Dan Le Batard Show podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Let's talk about buying a home for a minute. Because of rising interest rates, there's a lot of unpredictability when it comes to buying a home these days. It's causing a lot of anxiety and stress for a lot of people. Well, our friends at Quicken Loans are doing something about that. They're calling it the power buying process. Here's how it works. Quicken Loans will verify your income, your assets, and credit in less than 24 hours to give you a verified approval. That gives you the strength of a cash buyer. Then once you're verified, you qualify for their all-new exclusive Rate Shield approval. This is very cool here. First, they'll lock your rate up for 90 days while you shop. Now, here's the best part. If rates go up, your rates stay the same. But if rates go down, your rate also drops. Either way, you win. It's the kind of thinking you'd expect from America's largest mortgage lender. To get started, simple. Go to rocketmortgage.com/Stugotz. Rate Shield approval, only valid on certain 30-year purchase transactions. Additional conditions or exclusions may apply based on Quicken Loans data in comparison to public data records. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
Dan Le Batard.
I would absolutely take down my own school as a journalist if I find out that there was financial aid problems. Are you kidding me? I'm not hiding that story.
I totally leverage that information for money. Yeah,
Felony blackmail.
Yep.
Stugotz.
He's got to be the only radio personality in America who freely admits to, I'd commit crime. He's got to be. That's the niche.
You got the goods, man.
All the other spots have been taken. He's like surveying the landscape on where can I plant my flag.
I got this one.
Right. Nobody else wants this one. Why is there no one here? Wow, this looks like such a great land. I could just claim all fraud and crime.
Worked out well for me.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
So this is a football segment. That's the way it's starting. 786-456-4837 is the telephone number if you want to get your fix. Before I open these phone lines, though, real quick, though, I will come to wherever you are. I'll fly here, and I'll drag you down the street by your nostrils if you ask a fantasy question. Like if it's disguised.
Whoa.
No fantasy questions.
Well, what if Dianna Russini wants fantasy questions?
I don't want fantasy. I am not doing the show where we take calls on PPR or no PPR.
She's our guest. You're being a rude host.
That's right. Well, that's how we're going to do it here. Jeff, you're on ESPN Radio with Dianna Russini.
Hey, Dianna, how do you think that Terrell Pryor is going to do in fantasy this year?
You mother bleeper. I will fly.
Great question.
Where are you? What? Find me Disney Global Security and rain down holy hell on that person. Shoot lasers at them. Find Disney Global Security.
Dianna, you have an answer?
Robert, you're on with Dianna Russini on ESPN Radio. Go ahead, Robert.
Hey, Dianna, it's a pleasure. What is the single most important thing that San Francisco 49ers must do to win the division? And have you met Tim Kurkjian?
I have met Tim Kurkjian. He's handsome, which he's very underrated in the looks department. In terms of your San Francisco 49ers, I'm going to say that for them to win the division, or at least I think you said Super Bowl, actually, I'm going to go with they need to improve their defensive line. They've got 3 first-rounders, if you think about it, on their line from the 15, 16, 17 draft class, and Armstead, Solomon, and Buckner. Those 3 need to get better. They need to improve, and I think if their pass rush can improve, I think the 49ers have a shot.
Baker, you are on with Dianna Russini. Go ahead, Baker.
Hey, Dianna, what do you think about the Ravens season this year, and do you think Lamar Jackson becomes the eventual starter?
No. I am all in on Joe Flacco this season. I think Flacco is one of those competitors that needs the pressure, that needs to be pushed. And while I don't think that Robert Griffin III or Lamar Jackson is really has an opportunity to become a starter, at least in the first half of the season, I think there's enough buzz and they're doing enough to put that pressure on Flacco to have the best season he's had since he signed that big contract to go on to win the Super Bowl for Baltimore. So in terms of how I think the Ravens are going to do, I think this is their year.
Chris, put it on the poll, please. Is Tim Kurkjian underrated handsome? Shaquille, you're on with Dianna Russini. Go ahead, Shaquille.
Oh, Diane, this is, I'm just trying to figure out if this is me and Drew Brees' last season, one of his last seasons. Will the Saints, win the Super Bowl this year? I'll hang up and listen.
Good question. I've got the Saints winning the Super Bowl this season, and in terms of Drew Brees, here's what doesn't
thought the Ravens were
attention. Oh no, I meant the Ravens can go far. I don't think the Ravens going to win the Super Bowl. I just think this is going to be Joe Flacco's best year. But in terms of a team that actually has all the different parts, defense, offense, special teams, all lined up and ready to go, I personally think that the New Orleans Saints have the best opportunity and best chance to win this season. In terms of Drew Brees, guys, we spend so much time talking about Tom Brady, his health, his fitness, what he does. Nobody pays attention to what Drew Brees does. This guy takes care of his body just as good, if not better, than Tom Brady. And he may not talk about it. In fact, it's one of those things, even when I've asked him, he kind of gives me a in-between answer. And I asked him once, why don't you give me the details on this? Like, what are you doing, dude? And he goes, why am I going to let other quarterbacks out there, other people that want my position, know what I'm doing to keep my body right? And I kind of liked his edge. And he's got more energy and competitiveness than any quarterback I've been around in the last 2 seasons in terms of just, I mean, he needs to win everything. Like they had a snow cone contest down at New Orleans Saints practice, and I think he was trying to beat out like 4-year-olds just to say that he was the champion. He just has that edge. He's one of those guys.
The thing that he does to stay so healthy is throw every pass in 2 seconds. That's
on his tippy toes. Yes.
Jacob, you're on with Dianna Russini. Go ahead, Jacob.
How are you, miss?
What?
Oh, he said, "How are you?"
Yeah, I was just saying.
Thank you.
Is that your
Hello.
question? Is that your question?
Oh, no. The Cincinnati Bengals winning the Super Bowl is my ultimate fantasy, though. Not a fantasy question.
Okay, it is your ultimate fantasy. But can you explain to us, like the Bengals have announced to everyone in the country and the sport, right, with Marvin Lewis and Andy Dalton, that they are the one team in the sport that doesn't actually care about winning.
Are you asking the caller or me?
I'm asking
you.
I was not asking Jacob.
Do you agree with that?
Yes, that is the one team I have a very hard time understanding the decision making. We talk about hot seat. It's way too early to talk hot seat, but I think Marvin Lewis is going to be challenged this year with trying to figure out what he can do with Andy Dalton. I mean, guys, the last time we talked about Andy Dalton.
Don't fall for that, Diana.
Dan's been falling for a decade.
I think they gave him an extension after I said he'll never coach again another game in the sport. Next thing you know, I think they extended him for 40 more years.
Yeah, you're like the opposite. You know how it's like the kiss of death when the owner comes out and says, "Oh, we're not firing him," and the next day the guy gets fired. That's like for you, but the opposite. As soon as you say someone's out, they sign extensions. So if I was a head coach, I'd be definitely cozying up to you. But I mean, guys, if you think about it, for Andy Dalton, the last time we were really talking about him doing things well was when Redskins head coach Jay Gruden was calling the shots down there. So it's been a while. So I feel bad for that nice caller that wants to see his team win, and his fantasy may be a fantasy for a long time.
Thank you for making the time for our show on Maiden Voyage here. Stugotz will make some time for you in the future.
I absolutely will, Samini.
All right. Thank you, Dianna Samini. We appreciate it.
Dan, thank you so much for having me on your show. You are the best host at ESPN. I love your show, and I'm so glad it's called the Dan Le Batard Show, period.
You're welcome.
Money, 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 money.
Picking Stugotz as a nemesis is great. He's brave in picking you as a nemesis.
Well, here's what's funny. If Wilbon does it, if he comes after me, my Twitter followers go after him. They love Russini.
Right.
What do you think's going on there?
I know. I believe. I know what's going on there. Yeah. You're right that's what's going on there. But the Stugotz Army will absolutely, and it's one of the great things about the Stugotz Army. They're chasing after you. You're waving a flag of ignorance that doesn't have an actual flag on it. It's just a stick. And they can absolutely just get distracted by a woman's voice.
I think she was pretty damn terrific, too.
Yes, she was great. Terrific, but I'm telling you that the Stugotz Army, rabid as it is, will allow any woman's voice to they will fall on their back and allow you to pet their belly the way dogs do.
Yes, I tell them to go after Daniel Baldwin, they go after Daniel Baldwin. I tell them to go after Wilbon, they go after Wilbon. Pablo, they go after Pablo with a smile on their face.
Careful.
Russini, they will. No, I'm already seeing it play
become
out.
The Russini Army very quick. We go to the bucket of death next. Stugotz, tell them about Dollar Shave Club. The bucket of death is next. We all hate it. It's next.
Dan Le Batard.
Stugotz, when we decided to move to South Florida, decided that he was going to move to Neptune.
Yeah.
He thought that would be a good commute. Keeps buying homes further and further north.
Stugotz.
Last time I checked in with him, he was having a home built on stilts in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guests on the Dan Le Batard Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Here's your SportsCenter update. Richard Sherman says that there will be a lockout once the NFL's collective bargaining agreement expires. Former Browns linebacker Michael Kendrick pleaded guilty to insider trading charges and faces up to 25 years in prison. And finally, a Virginia man took down an electrified fence. Roy, is it an electrified fence? I mean, okay. A Virginia man took down.
It should be an electrified fence instead of an electrified fence. Put that on the poll, Chris. Should it be an electrified fence or should it be an electrified fence? Because I like the second one better.
It doesn't matter. It's on me. I owe $5. I blame Roy. I blame them earlier.
Also, you made it seem like there's a typo in there. I'm seeing the copy. There isn't.
Okay. I just put $5 in there.
You also put an R in there.
He put aggressively. He put $5 in there.
I should have done that too. Well, I blame Roy. I've done it twice today. The first time was absolutely his fault. The second time was not. We're even. Okay, and there's $5. Good.
Yeah, you've covered the sins.
Okay. And finally, a Virginia man took down an electrified fence. he erected early Tuesday morning. The fence separated his front yard from a county school bus stop. The man said he was sick of students who cursed, fought, and littered at the bus stop. They don't respect other people's land, the man said. Trespassing and posted signs he put up years ago have made no impact. He hoped hooking the fence up to a battery would provide relief. He said he ultimately removed the fence not because of any potential danger it may pose to students and passerbys, but rather he learned he placed the fence on county property, not his own land. Attaboy. He's not worried about the kids? Why did I say that, boy? I'm tired. I got to go home. Blink motion-activated video cameras send an alert to your smartphone when they detect suspicious activity. And now is the time to buy. Get 3 Blink cameras for way less than the other guys at an extra 15% off at blinkprotect.com/Dan. That's a good deal. 15% off. I have those cameras. They're awesome. Blinkprotect.com/Dan. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in to SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
That was all brutal. We don't have time. We've got to do this now fast. Stugotz is going to rummage in the bucket for 10 minutes. Let's do this as fast as we can. We got to open up the club. The Grim Reaper is back. All of us hate this. This is the grid of death, basically, because football is back. We all reach into a bucket of death. We grab team. What are you muttering about?
I'm nervous, man. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I'm nervous. I hate this.
I'm doing a radio show here. I don't need your audible nervousness. I'm trying to rush through this segment so that we can go to the bucket and you can spend 10 minutes with your hand in the bucket.
I'm sorry. Tone. Fine.
So here is the Grim Reaper. There it is. It's all here. It's a suicide pool, basically. It is a visual game, but we do it in an audio medium. Chris is reaching into the bucket of death. The team he picks out will be the team he has this weekend, unless he puts it back. And if he loses, he will have to do some sort of shame. Have you done Christmas carols yet? Do you owe anything yet?
I owe one thing. It's the ice bucket challenge
from last season.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
There was controversy around.
Unbelievable. What did you just pull out of there?
The Bears.
Ooh. All right, so you've got the Bears.
That is going back.
All right, Bears and Packers are 7.5.
Does this go back in? We had controversy.
No, leave it out and pick something else now.
Okay.
Leave it out.
You say so.
Taking charge. I like it.
Enough. We need to move through this.
Historically, that's not how it went.
All right,
I'm not in charge anymore.
$10 draw again. Oh, this is a good start to the season.
All right, $10 from everybody.
I just gave my last $5. I mean, I'm done.
Redskins.
All right, so you've got the Washington racial slurs. They are pick 'em against Arizona at Arizona. That's not terrible. It's also not good.
The Bears stays out completely.
So Dan's making the rules now?
So Bears and Washington, they're both out now.
Go ahead, Roy. Pick into. We all owe you $10. Go ahead, Roy. We need to speed through this. You got the Jets. You're going to want to put that back always. Always. You're going to always want to put that back.
Well, you can't put it back. You're taking it out now, apparently. The Broncos. They're
Broncos.
at home against Seattle.
Oh, good. Yeah,
all right, so the Broncos are a 3-point favorite at home against the Seahawks. Congratulations, Roy. That's as well as you can do here.
It's liberating.
Case Keenum is about as well as you can do here.
Can I say something?
No. Mike, go ahead and pick from the bucket. Go ahead, Mike.
It's liberating, and we can just do whatever we want and make up the rules. The Raiders, I'm putting that back.
Okay, you're putting it back.
Put it back.
I don't have to put it back.
Really?
How about that? Look at, I love these new rules.
Raiders are at home against the Rams. They're a 4-point dog.
I got the headgear pick. All right, so whatever headgear Lee Corso puts on his head during college game day, I am represented by that team. That team must not lose.
Where are they this weekend?
I believe they're in Clemson for Texas A&M. Let's go Tigers. Unless the Aggies win.
Unless he puts on the Aggie hat.
Yeah.
All right, I'm rummaging here. Let's see what we got.
Billy, by the way, has the golden helmet of life.
What?
He's not here today, but he had it from last season.
Is it back in here, though, the golden helmet?
Yes, but I'm sorry. Oh, you thought he had it like in his luggage?
Yeah.
No, he's got it from last season. The golden helmet of life gives you 3 straight bye weeks. He's in the second of those bye weeks. Stugotz has picked something from the bucket. What is it?
There's already controversy. I mean, how are there 2 Bronco helmets in there? What is going on?
Oh, this is what happens when Mike's in charge of the rules.
Oh, no, somebody put in, I wasn't here, and somebody put in some new helmets. How about that?
So since the Broncos shouldn't be in there, I get another pick, a free pick.
Sure, whatever the hell you want, man.
Yeah, we're making up the rules. Yeah, thank you. I like this.
You don't get a free pick.
What do you mean I don't?
You don't get a free pick. The Broncos helmet was in there because of a clerical oversight.
No, because I'm not in charge anymore. Keep going.
But they shouldn't be in there. So I took the Tennessee Titans.
All right, so now you've got the Titans against the Dolphins.
I can't put this back in?
No, you cannot. The Titans are at the Dolphins.
What you had until it's gone, huh, fellas?
Thank you. It's crazy.
All right, so you got the Titans.
No!
I've got the Saints.
No!
I'll take the Saints. That's fine. They're against the Bucks at home. You can pick again, but that's the one that counts. I'm not doing it again. You can pick again if you want, but the Titans is what counts.
I got the Cardinals.
If you had,
So you had the Titans and the Cardinals.
all right, so you can have them both, and either one of them loses, you lose.
Dan's in charge.
We open up the club next.
What?
Dollar bills, yo. Dollar bills, yo.
I'm doing. That's it. I am done with this game, and I'm tired of it. And I'm just going to make the rules as we go because you owe something from 2 years ago. Chris owes something from a year ago. Mike wants to make all the rules, and then all of a sudden there's 7 Bronco helmets in it. That's it. I'm making the rules, and that's how we're doing it from now on.
What if both my teams win? A bonus?
DraftKings. I'm in charge. New contract. I got it worked into our new contract. I'm in charge of the grid of death, and I'm just telling everyone to go bleep themselves. I hate it. It puts me in a foul mood, and nothing puts me in a worse mood than Mike making rules all the time.
Don't have to worry about it now, and it's chaos and terrible.
DraftKings, week 1 of the regular season. Really? Your rules are the reason it's been good in the past?
There's 2 Broncos. No one knows what's happening. Let's go. Let's do it.
Week 1 of the regular... Look, everyone's tired of your rules. Put it on the poll. Chris.
Go for it.
Is everyone tired of Mike Ryan's rules?
Don't know what you got till it's gone.
Week 1 of the regular season continues Sunday. DraftKings will get you paid. Look,
Titans.
I'm just done with you. You'd still be rummaging around in that helmet because you make so many excuses and changes. You owe something from 2 years ago. I'll pay my fine. Go bleep yourself.
And just so you know, I'm picking whoever wins. How about that? Cardinals or Titans?
I'm telling you that if either one of those teams loses, you lose. The rule has been made.
And I'm telling you, I'm choosing whichever team wins.
You owe a penalty from 2 years ago. You should be wearing a costume every day on this show because you owe something from 2 years ago.
I hope you got a C note in there because that's what you owe for this tone. Seriously.
I will pay $5 for tone. DraftKings is where it's at. DraftKings, it's already put us in a foul mood. This game is a horror. It's a horror.
Us, I'm liberated. Now we just all hate Dan.
Right, and go find another $95 somewhere.
If you love football, yelling at television screens with friends, and wearing clothing with someone else's name on it, there's a seat waiting for you at Buffalo Wild Wings, where you can enjoy football food and football beverages on our new $5 game day menu. Cheeseburger and fries, brats, cocktails, and pitchers of beer are just $5 each. Escape to football and the new $5 game day menu at Buffalo Wild Wings. Price and participation vary by location. Not valid with any other offer. Please drink responsibly.
Dan Le Batard.
It's Friday. I'm getting into the weekend. I want to get my drink on.
Stugotz.
We've got to open up the club. Open it. Open it. Open it. Now. What is the computer buffering? There it is.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
My father looks legitimately happy out there. It's his 75th birthday today. Happy birthday to the best employee ESPN has. The star of highly questionable. Happy 75th birthday. Everyone is shoving croquetas into their face. There's a cake that's made out of black beans, I think. It's crazy out there. My father looks so happy.
No, man. He's not going to eat croquetas. They got him the greatest present ever.
They're good. Do you think the majority of the audience knows what a croqueta is?
No.
All right, put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. We will open up the club in a second. Do you know what a croqueta is? But first, Stugotz has to zip through the polls before we open up the club.
The Twitter poll is brought to you by Discover Card. Discover thinks annual fees are ridiculous. If you do too, find out more at discover.com. Are you a booer? 56% of the audience said no. Did you cry during the Mr. Rogers movie? 74% of the audience said no. Did you cry during the Bridges of Madison County? David Sampson said he did, former Marlins team president. 92% of the audience said no. Can you cry on a first date during a movie? 78% of the audience said no. It shows a different side of you if you cry. I don't know.
Yeah, the side
Sometimes
of you,
I fake tears just to do it. Yeah.
Side of you that she's going to leave.
Yeah. Oh. Is Matt Ryan Tannehill with Julio Jones? 80% of the audience said yes.
Wow.
Is the guy that says laying the wood a jerk? Man, 78% of the audience said yes. It's disappointing. Whatever happened to Jack Arute? 60% of the audience said no. Trying to keep it together.
Okay, I mean, fair enough.
Who looks more like the lifelike robotic bartender in a sci-fi movie that's always smiling as he's wiping down the bone-dry counter? That is a great question.
We need to ask this again because the nominees are Will Kane or Field Yates. I don't know if you'd go other there, but I think those are the only two nominees that anyone on earth can have.
52% of the audience.
Hold on a second. Read it again so people understand what it is. This is a big vote here.
Who looks more like the lifelike robotic bartender in a sci-fi movie that's always smiling as he's wiping down the bone-dry counter? 52% of the audience. Field Yates.
Yes.
Did you know Mona Lisa's smile was a victim of a thyroid issue? 87% of the audience said no. Is everyone tired of Mike Ryan's rules? 75% of the audience said yes.
Even Mike Ryan's tired of it.
Yeah. The other option was yes.
Is Tim Kurkjian underrated in the looks department? 73% of the audience said yes. Do you know what a croqueta is? It's early, Dan. It is early, but thus far, 60% of the audience says no.
Yeah, it's fried breaded ham is what it is. And it's delicious. And all of you are idiots that said no to that. Go ahead and open up the club for the weekend, an assortment of sounds to make us nostalgic. So here it is. Every week at this time, we send you into our happy hour with some sounds from the week. What do you got, Mike? That was the highlight of today's show. Yes, Daniel Baldwin and Alec Baldwin both came on roaring. Who else is in the club? Yeah, I thought that was Daniel Baldwin with some support from Stugotz. Yeah, there's Stugotz right there. When the feud with the Lebatards and the Baldwins escalated, which side did Stugotz take? I can listen to that for the rest of the show. Who else is in the club? That is Daniel Baldwin with Stugotz on his side. Who else is in the club?
Dan Levitz.
Gene Simmons calling me what?
Dan Levitz.
Who else in the club? Who else? I've seen of it. Yeah, not my best work. Who else in the club?
You know what we be saying right now? We ready. We ready.
That's right. Lamar Thomas, while UM and FIU brawled, and there was a guy named Ned wearing, had crutches. Who else in the club?
Not very well.
Oh, yeah, there he is. We didn't make fun of him this week.
Yeah, turnover in the red zone.
I mean, he's back. We'll do it next week.
Who else in the